West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Are you ready? I hope so, because here we go. The Bill Press Show on Wednesday, January 27. Good to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us here as we kick off from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and head out to you nationwide, coast to coast, on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream. Talker, youtube.com/TAWKR, TawkrTV. How about it? He says, I don't like that woman. She's not fair to me. If she's there as a moderator, I'm not going to show up. And she is going to be there. Fox News says Megyn Kelly is indeed going to host that, co-host that debate on Thursday evening. And so Donald Trump says, if Megyn Kelly's there, I ain't coming. Made it official yesterday. He is going to boycott the debate, which I think makes him look like a weenie, don't you? I mean, he says he's going to take on ISIS. Yeah, but he's going to take on ISIS, but he's afraid of Megyn Kelly? I mean, how tough can she be? Meanwhile, other news in the Republican side, George Pataki endorsed Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz picked up the endorsement of former Texas Governor Rick Perry. And speaking of debates, NBC announced yesterday that they are going to defy the Democratic National Committee and hold an unscheduled Democratic debate next week in between Iowa and New Hampshire. And all three Democratic candidates have said they will appear in that unscheduled debate. Bernie Sanders not wasting any time. He took a little side trip out of Iowa to go over into Minnesota. In St. Paul last night, he had a crowd of 15,000 people. Minnesota feels the burn. So much to talk about. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and join the conversation.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
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 Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome to Slushville. Yeah. Now the snow is melting. Now you need waders to get through the street. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we are again. A Snowzilla, a dying Snowzilla now. Washington, D.C. We're actually going to get back to work today. Of course, we've been here all the way through. The federal government is getting back to work today.
Slowly.
Not
on time.
We are so happy to see you and have you part of the show, part of the program today. Wherever you are in this great land of ours, we're there right alongside of you, right on your lap, so to speak.
Excuse me?
Think about that.
What? Is that?
All right.
Okay.
We'll cuddle up here on a Wednesday morning. Yes,
okay,
indeed.
man.
All right. It is the Bill Press Show. Welcome. Whether you're listening on the radio or watching on television, it's good to have you with us. There with you on your local progressive talk radio station. And don't forget, take the radio with you where you go on your electronic device by downloading one of the great apps, TuneIn or iHeartRadio, and then you can follow us everywhere you go. And look at you on television. You're looking good today, and I hope so are we. On Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Peter Rockburn, Jamie Benson.
Yo.
That's
here
my
we
last
are.
name.
What's going on?
Here we are live and direct.
I know.
On a Wednesday. It's hump day, and boy, am I tired.
Oh, God, I haven't heard that in about 9 years. So, by the way, streets are getting a little better. They are messy, though. It's just, you get everything's feel good. The sidewalks are clean. You get right to the corner, and then, how am I going to get across Lake Huron?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is the
it
worst.
All melts, and then it just all the water ends up right at the curb.
This is the worst part of the snow, right?
Total.
Like
I'm
fine with the snowfall.
Now.
I'm fine with the cleanup. It's dirty snow on the corners. You still got these huge piles.
Yeah.
But it's like at the bottom of it isn't just more fun snow. It's like water and slush and gross.
I think I'm going to be wearing my bean boots through Friday.
Yeah, I mean, you got to wear.
I got mine on today.
Yeah.
You don't need them on the sidewalk, but seriously.
You go anywhere else, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ray Rogers is here to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, of course, and Cyprian Bolding. He is why we're looking so good on Free Speech and TawkrTV. And I got to tell you, it's rough up in Maine. The
mean streets.
I know Jamie's from Maine, but I have to say that it's rough because the weather is tough. And then they got the worst governor in the country.
He really might be the worst governor in the country.
No,
he really might be the worst.
Yeah.
Now that Bobby Jindal is out of Louisiana.
And our neighbor, right, 100 yards away here, Mike Michaud could be the governor of Maine, should be the governor of Maine. Damn people of Maine, dumbasses. Reelected.
Jamie now.
Reelected. Paul LePage.
I didn't vote for that man.
You know what? And it was because that independent ran, really, that Michaud lost. But still, even with that, they should have had enough sense not to reelect Paul LePage. And if they had any doubts, how about it yesterday? Everybody wants to get tough on crime. Here's Paul LePage's idea.
Rick, what I think we ought to do is bring the guillotine back.
Guillotine now.
The guillotine.
Can't even pronounce it.
We could have public executions and have, we could even have which hole it falls in.
Is that part of your French background, the guillotine?
You got it. You got it.
Which
I like
hole
French
it falls
history.
in?
Yeah, I think he's talking about they would have a game.
Like a
where you
contest to see where the head
you cut
falls?
the head off, and then you
Oh.
bet on which hole it falls in.
Sounds
I
really
guess.
cool.
Is that the way you do it up in Maine, Jamie?
I can't stop laughing.
That's the
It's just too
craziest. Sounds like a cool game. Governor of Maine.
much. It's like cornhole, but in Maine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's
The heads of criminals. It's
With lots
it's
of violence.
Crazy.
Like, why would you even joke about something like that? You know what I mean? If you-
Especially if you're the governor.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
Telling you, it's an embarrassment, a total embarrassment. Ha ha ha! Yeah, we're gonna bring back the guillotine. First in line.
Yeah.
All right, David Jackson joins us. He's out on the road somewhere. They don't let him in the White House anymore, but he'll be along to from the campaign trail to let us know what's going on. Jordan Fabian is still at the White House for the Hill. He'll be here in studio with us, plus reporters from Washington Post and Politico. And yes, Donald Trump, the coward. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Who run the world? Yesterday we found out as the Senate had a couple of people show up to actually work in the Senate yesterday.
Oh.
Turns out it was a pretty interesting mix of people. As Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska noticed, she says, quote, "As we convene this morning, you look around the chamber, the presiding officer is female, all our parliamentarians are female, our floor managers are female, all of our pages are female." Looks like...
But the men were out shoveling snow.
Men couldn't make it in to work. Only the women could show up and get the damn job done yesterday in the Senate. So,
Well, it is interesting that last week the Senate worked 3 days. The House was out the entire week after Martin Luther King holiday. And this week, because of a little snow, the House took another entire week off. The Senate is back in session.
yeah, apparently only the women are going. So good for them. In Maryland, there's a new law on the books that says that if you have a marijuana pipe or rolling papers, it will no longer be a crime. Carrying that paraphernalia previously would have got you in some serious trouble, but the General Assembly, led by Democrats, overturned Larry Hogan, governor of Maryland, overturned his vetoes last week, which means that it is now legal. You can carry your marijuana pipe with you. You can carry your rolling papers with you, and they can't shake you down anymore.
Yeah, good for the legislature. Absolutely.
They also moved
right.
smoking marijuana in public to just a fine. So,
Well, that's nice to know because, you know, it's easy to go across the line in Maryland here from Washington without even recognizing this sometimes.
that's right. You just walk right over it, you know?
Yeah.
And the International Olympic Committee made a big change to the rules yesterday. Now, previously, if transgender athletes wanted to compete, they had to undergo sex reassignment surgery. That was the standard for the International Olympic Committee. If you
That's
wanted to
cool.
compete in as either a male or a female as a transgender athlete, you would actually have to go through. It was a very cruel process, by the way, because they would check you out to make sure. It was humiliating things. Yesterday they dropped that, and they said they've changed their policy to, quote, adapt to current scientific, social, and legal attitudes on transgender issues, and you no longer have to go through sex reassignment surgery to compete as a man or a woman as a transgendered athlete.
Welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah, here we go, right?
All right. Headline in the Huffington Post today, Trump can't take the heat. It's unbelievable. He has threatened before that he wasn't going to show up for debates. Remember, he said, if the union leader's involved in this debate, I ain't showing. And they dropped the union leader. Then he said, the National Review has anything to do with this debate after they ran that whole thing against me. I ain't showing. And they dropped the National Review. And he showed up. He said at one time, if CNN doesn't contribute $5 million to my favorite charity, I ain't showing up. Well, in that case, CNN didn't, but he still showed up. This time, Donald Trump said, if that woman, Megyn Kelly, I don't like her, she doesn't like me, she hasn't been fair to me, he says, if she's one of the moderators along with Chris Wallace and Brett Baer.
Brett Baer, yeah.
Brett Baer. Donald Trump said, I ain't showing. Fox News said, this is the lineup. Take it or leave it. And Donald Trump yesterday said, I am leaving it. He has actually said Thursday night he's not going to show up for the debate and let Fox sink without him. He says, let's see how much money they can make without him. Here is Donald Trump yesterday out in Iowa. He never clearly says it, but his campaign manager said he's definitely not showing up. Donald Trump still makes it a little iffy.
I probably won't bother doing the debate. I see they picked me as number one. Not only number one by far, but probably I won't be doing the debate.
Yeah, won't be doing it. The campaign manager said, yeah, for sure he's not. Donald Trump said they're going to have another event at the same time to raise money for the wounded warriors. And Donald Trump, let's see what Fox does without me.
Let's see how much money Fox is going to make on the debate without me.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
It is a good point because everybody knows that the CNN, MSNBC, Fox Business Channel, Fox, everybody, they've made more money than ever before on these debates. They've had more people watching these debates than ever before. Why? Because of the clown in the middle of the stage. Donald Trump, you never know what he's going to say. You never know what anybody's going to say about him. And it was that very, very first debate when Megyn Kelly challenged him on some pretty ugly remarks he had made about women, and Donald Trump didn't like it. Everybody was tuning in this time. There would have been, I think, record numbers this time.
This would have been the biggest one yet.
Because it would have been the rematch, right? The retake, the sequel between Donald Trump and Megyn Kelly. And without that, I think Donald Trump may be right. The numbers very well might fall. I mean, who wants to see Ted Cruz challenge Marco Rubio, right? Or John Kasich challenge Rand Paul? I mean,
if you think that and just about every debate, that we've had, not just from Fox, they've all set records for the network that it's been on, right? Like CNN had record.
He even helped the Democratic debates, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a sense.
But if you think that people were tuning in, or the majority of people were tuning in to watch a measured, reasoned conversation on the issues with a couple of high-minded thinkers, you're wrong.
Right.
They wanted to see the mud fly, and Donald Trump is the king of it.
Yeah, the fun last time was Ted Cruz taking on and Donald Trump back and forth. You know? So anyhow, Megyn Kelly had kind of the last word on her show last night. She's not backing down.
Trump is not used to not controlling things as the chief executive of a large organization. But the truth is, he doesn't get to control the media. And while he's made his position clear about me after that first debate, Roger Ailes made his position clear too.
And meanwhile, Ted Cruz couldn't resist piling on. Ted Cruz challenging Donald Trump to a one-on-one interview, which, of course, Trump will not take up. Because then they might really have to get into the issues.
Right.
And Ted does know the issues. Donald Trump does not. But Ted's saying, well, this is what happens. You're running. You want the job? You got to show up for the job interview.
If you were hiring someone and you put up a help wanted ad in the newspaper, and someone called you up and said, I want the job, but I'm not willing to show up to the job interview, you know what you'd say? You're fired.
No, he doesn't say that the way Donald Trump says.
No, he doesn't exactly.
You're fired!
Crush that the way Trump does.
Here's a question. 866-55-PRESS. Is Donald Trump doing the right thing? Smart thing or not? This guy's pretty, we've learned, right? He's pretty savvy politically. And there's a lot of calculation that went into this decision. Does it make him look like he's in charge, or does it really make him look weak? I mean, one way you can say it is he's number one. He can set the rules for himself, unlike what Megyn Kelly said. He is in control. He's like over two times over Ted Cruz now in the latest polls. He's just been romping in the polls lately. And so he can basically do whatever the hell he wants. And he says, they're not going to be fair to me. I'm just not going to show up to the debate, so take it or leave it. That's one way of looking at it. And by the way, it really means that all we're talking about now, once again, is Donald Trump with 4 days to go. He is center stage, even though he won't be center stage in the debate. He's center on the bigger stage. He's center stage. Or does it, which I think, make him look like a wimp? Make him look like he's afraid of Megyn Kelly. I mean, come on. First of all, I think Megyn Kelly is a very good anchor, very good broadcaster, a very strong TV talent. I've always admired her, even though I don't like her politics. And I've tangled her. I've debated on her on that show, and she's tough.
She handled, I mean, yes, all the anchors, but like on the debate forum, right? That first night of the debate, she was very good.
I thought she was.
She was prepared. She was on fire.
Yeah, she's a good broadcaster. Anyhow, so it makes him look weak. He's afraid of her. I mean, come on. And I think to a certain extent, Ted Cruz is right. You don't show up for the job interview. You don't deserve the job. And you might ask, how's he really going to take on ISIS, right? If he's afraid of Megyn Kelly. So is he doing the right thing or not? 866-55-PRESS. Or is this all a publicity stunt on both the part of Fox News and Donald Trump? And will he end up actually on stage after we've spent 2 days talking about it? Anything could happen. What do you think? 866-55-PRESS.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. When I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, at 26 minutes after the hour, in many ways, this is Donald Trump versus, not versus Megyn Kelly, but versus Roger Ailes, the head of Fox. And New York Magazine reports this morning that Donald Trump is not taking Roger Ailes' phone calls. He has said he will deal only with Rupert Murdoch.
This is a really interesting power struggle.
It is.
I love this. I can't wait to see how it plays out.
New York also reports that there are some Fox anchors who have anonymously, privately told people they don't like the fact that Megyn Kelly is becoming the big Fox star.
Man,
Trump has created chaos.
He has. He really has.
Joey's out in Chicago. What do you think, Joey?
This man acts like a spoiled, rotten brat. He acts like a 4-year-old, a spoiled, rotten brat who no one has ever told no to. This man doesn't have the character or the self-discipline to be commander-in-chief of our armed forces or to even be president or vice president or any cabinet member. This man has no character and no self-discipline. He cannot be in our government at all. He's a disaster.
Yeah.
A disaster. And it may be a stunt. It may be a stunt.
That's the thing. It may be a stunt. But it does. I mean, how could this guy say, I'm going to be a tough commander-in-chief when, I can't even take a question from Megyn Kelly? I mean, give me a break. Let's go out there. Thanks, Joey. George in Katy, I think it is. Katy, Texas. Hey, George.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Katy, Texas. I usually don't agree with most political things that are coming out of Fox, but I got to give him credit for standing up to Donald Trump. He, I'm sorry. He's a master showman, and hopefully, this will show people what he's really up to. I mean, 75% of the things that come out of his mouth is just bull.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I think he really is afraid of Megyn Kelly.
I think that, look, I totally support Fox in their decision. They cannot let any politician dictate who asks the questions, who's going to be the moderators of the debate. You cannot let the politicians control that. So Fox is right to stand up to him and let Donald Trump look like the weakling that he is. More calls coming up here about Donald Trump.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, And they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper-surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
"34 minutes after the hour, we are talking about the big storm of controversy that Donald Trump has caused overnight by making it official. There's a big debate Thursday night among the Republican candidates on Fox News with the same moderators who were at the very first, moderated the very first Republican debate. Chris Wallace and Brett Baer and Megyn Kelly. That's when Megyn Kelly took on Donald Trump with her question about his misogynist remarks. He didn't like it, still doesn't like it. And he had said if she shows up, if she's a moderator for this one, he will not show up. And last night he made it official. By the way, there was a day of endorsements yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of endorsements flying around.
So your calls about what's going on here with Trump. Is he doing the right thing? Does it make him look weak or strong? And is this maybe all a stunt? And how does Fox News handle this thing? 866-55-PRESS. But the big endorsement for Donald Trump was Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
We remember him.
I think one of the most despicable people on the planet. At any rate, he's all for Donald.
It's a no-brainer for me to endorse him. Very easy decision, believe me.
It's kind of funny to hear Sheriff Joe, who doesn't have a brain, say it's a no-brainer.
Everything's a no-brainer for him. He doesn't have a brain.
No, exactly, right. But not to be outdone, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, they racked up some big endorsements yesterday, too. Ted Cruz got the endorsement of former Texas Governor Rick Perry. Rick who? Right?
Yeah, who he?
And Marco Rubio, he won the day, I think, with the endorsement of George Pataki.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. George Pataki and his wife are going to vote for Ted Cruz.
All those, so there's two.
There's two.
Yeah,
right.
They're going for Rubio.
Right. So back to the Trump thing. Here is what's going on. Again, this is really a war between Roger Ailes and Donald Trump, both of whom are control freaks. And Roger Ailes said, I'm going to run this network the way I want to run it, and Megyn Kelly's my person. I think he's right, but Donald Trump is saying, I'm the king. I'm going to be the next president. I'm not going to appear on your stinking network if you have that Megyn Kelly asking me questions. So this has been going on for a couple of days. But according to Donald Trump, what the straw that broke the camel's back here, right, was an email that Fox News sent out yesterday. They put out a statement saying, quote, "We learned from a secret back channel that the Ayatollah and Putin both intend to treat Donald Trump unfairly when they meet with him if he becomes president. A nefarious source tells us that Trump has his own secret plan to replace the cabinet with Twitter followers to see if he should even go to those meetings with the Ayatollah and Putin." Trump says that was insulting, and that did it. Once they put that out there, Trump said, all right, they're just making fun of me. They're treating me unfairly. Screw them. I'm not going to show up for this stinking debate.
You know, the interesting thing there is, I don't want to say Donald Trump has
that was the snarky comment.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to say that Donald Trump has a point, but he has like half of a point, right? Like this is what this has become. They wouldn't write that about anybody else because it would be considered treating someone unfairly, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that Donald Trump is sort of a lampoonable character compared to the other candidates, but at the same time, if Fox News wants to be treated as fair and balanced and not sort of baiting and trying to fight with these candidates, that's a dumb thing to write. But my takeaway from all this is not that Trump is scared of anybody, but that I think Trump realizes sort of his full potential. I think he realizes that he has the leverage here.
Well, he can, and by the way, I think the only other person on the planet who could, or in American politics certainly, who could say, yeah, I'll give an interview to the New York Times, but I won't give it to that reporter. You can send this reporter. Is the president of the United States, who does it all the time.
Sure, yeah.
All the time. Again, your comment is Trump, just overreacting, looking like he's too weak to face this female moderator, or is he really showing that he's in control and he can take charge? Who's right, who's wrong? This may even require you to stand up for Fox News. I know, that's hard. 866-55-PRESS. Let's go out to Detroit and say hello to David. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. I think Mr. Trump is not doing himself a a long-term favor. Yes, he will hurt Fox News with this maneuver, but at what price? I mean, it comes to a certain point where the Republican candidate, Fox News, is his greatest asset. And if you're going to undermine your greatest asset, how's that going to serve you on a long-term approach? I knew that I couldn't really put my finger on it up until a couple days ago. And I've picked something up on Donald Trump. When he wants to insult somebody or he mimics or tries to degrade somebody, he uses a baby voice. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so he treats the American public like we're, a 1-year-old.
But one thing is he has sort of broken this myth that if you're a Republican, you can't challenge Fox News, right?
Yeah.
That's the force, right? And the force has got to be reckoned with, and you can't mess with Fox News. And you say, well, no other Republican candidate could, perhaps, but I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to. Yeah.
It also gets to, again, I don't want to give Trump too much credit here, but it gets right to the heart of something that he boasts about all the time, how good he is at making deals and deal making. And it gets back to that idea of leverage, right? Like, what other candidate could call in from their phone to do as many shows as Trump does? Nobody. Only Trump could do that. He has that leverage. What other candidate could make demands about a debate, and sometimes get away with it? Only Trump. What other candidate could say they're not going to show up and have people freak out? Rand Paul didn't show up to a debate last week or a week ago. Nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is Trump.
Right.
The art of the dill.
It seems to me we're at the point right now where Fox can't back down and Trump can't back down.
Exactly.
Right. They can't fire Megyn Kelly or refuse to put her on stage. And Donald Trump now, I don't think, can show up with her sitting there. Jack out in Minnesota. Hi, Jack.
Hi.
Hey, what do you think?
I say that Fox News sent out a memo that clearly made fun of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That mocked him. And this is a man who mocked and made fun of a physically disabled man.
Oh, yeah, remember that, right.
And so he got a little taste of his own medicine. And what did he do? He pouted.
Yeah.
And he acted like a child and will not participate.
And said, I'm going to take my marbles and go home, right?
That's right.
Yeah, right. No, I do think overall it makes him look like a big baby, but he has he's taken that stand, and that's where it is. All right, Jack, great to hear from you. Bernie Sanders having a big night in Minnesota last night. Before we take a quick break here to talk to David Jackson, again, get in line if you haven't already done so. A copy of my new book comes out next week. And you can get your signed, inscribed copy of Buyer's Remorse, How Obama Let Progressives Down. Talks about all the good things that President Obama has done, for which we are very grateful, but all those things where he didn't really follow through on the progressive agenda as we wanted him to, even on Obamacare and across the board. Spell it all out here, and then calls on Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton to really take the progressive agenda the next, and when one of them becomes president, and run with it, and we will be right there behind them. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com. Tell us how you want the book signed for $27. Get the book. It's mailed to you. Everything is included, tax and everything, $27, and we'll sign it the way you want us to and send it out to you. David Jackson for USA Today on the campaign trail, I think in New Hampshire. We'll catch up with him next.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, breaking news here. Fox News has just announced that since Donald Trump has said he will not show up for Thursday night's debate, they are going to allow David Jackson from USA Today to fill in for Donald Trump and stand there at the podium. He is in Iowa, so you never know what could happen. Hello, David.
Hello, Bill. How are you?
What's going on with this? How's this shaking up the field, if it has?
Quite a bit. I suspect quite a bit, but it's still relatively new. I think it was maybe 5:30 or 6 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
Trump was welcoming an endorsement from Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the anti-illegal immigration sheriff from Arizona. And then Trump himself decided to take a few questions, and of course the Megyn Kelly episode came up, and lo and behold, Trump. First, he said the same thing he'd been saying for a few days. He was thinking about skipping the debate. He would probably skip the debate, and then the longer and longer he talked, he finally just said, "Well, it's very likely I will not be at the debate, and I'll be doing an event for veterans instead." And so we began filing that. I know I did, and several other people started filing the story that Trump's here again talking about skipping the debate. And then Corey Lewandowski, his campaign manager, told reporters just moments after that news conference ended that Trump definitely would not be attending the Fox debate. So all of a sudden we've got a new crisis between Trump and Fox over debate rules, specifically whether Megyn Kelly will be participating.
Well, they obviously had been thinking about this, right?
Right.
Because putting together a whole nother event and getting network coverage of it and everything, it does take a little planning, even for the Trump organization. Huh?
For sure. Obviously, they've been thinking about it, and Trump had been talking about it, but a lot of us weren't taking it that seriously because it just seemed like a very unusual thing for him to do. But now it looks like they're serious. And then late last night, as I was driving back from Marshalltown, Iowa, back here to Des Moines, which is about a 90-minute drive, the Trump staff put out a very harsh statement, again criticizing Fox. It looked like the kind of thing that's going to be hard to pull back from. Now they said he definitely will not be debating, and then he'll be holding an event on behalf of wounded warriors in Des Moines. So it'll be interesting to see how this stuff shakes out. But the Trump people put themselves in a position where it's going to be very hard to walk it back.
What kind of you've been following Trump in Iowa,
right?
Correct? Yeah. What kind of
Trump and Cruz?
Trump and Cruz. Is Trump still getting the big crowds, and does he have a ground operation to get them out to vote? Is the big question.
Well, he is still getting big crowds, Bill, but I don't think they're as big as the ones he has been drawing. I mean. They have a very nice high school gym in Marshalltown. It's a nice domed building. It's spectacular looking. He did fill that, no doubt about it, but it's not the outrageous standing room only crowds that he's had in the past. And I was talking to a few voters in the crowd too, and for the first time at any Trump event, I encountered some people who may not vote for him. They kind of came out to see the spectacle, but they're starting to have questions about him. So I would say he's still drawing the biggest crowds of anybody in the field, no doubt about that, but they're not as big as they were. So I'll be curious. It's interesting to see what's kind of going on with the Trump campaign.
You've talked to the people who are there. Are they telling you they're going to show up Monday night?
They say they will, but who knows? I mean, the diehards say they will, but they also say they've never caucused before, and it's a little bit easier to do in the Republican caucus than in the Democratic one. So I think that gives Trump an advantage, but there's just no way to tell. We'll have to see.
And what do you see at the Cruz events? And
Cruz is doing interesting. And a lot of religious conservatives are very well organized. Cruz is going to a lot of small towns all over Iowa. I mean, just little towns I've never been to or even heard of. And that's been his strategy. Rural, very evangelical. He does one or two town halls a day, and then he goes what he calls retail stops. He'll stop in a machine shop or a diner or something like that. And that's the way he's been doing it. He's really going after small town Iowa, doing 5, 6, 7 events a day.
Now, is anybody else out? I guess Marco Rubio's on the scene, too.
Marco Rubio is very much shooting for a third-place finish. That was kind of an interesting flap yesterday. He's been shooting for third place in Iowa, but he didn't have a schedule for Iowa until Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, and someone was reporting that he was going to pull out of the state. And Rubio's people really raced to kind of correct that. And they're saying he will be in the state. He doesn't have a schedule for the weekend yet. But he's very much interested in third place and feels like that'll give him good momentum going into New Hampshire. You know, Bill, there's that old cliche that there are 3 tickets out of Iowa, and Rubio wants to make sure he gets that third one.
Yeah, that really has been true for a long time. Have you had a chance to look in on Hillary or Bernie?
No. I looked at the town hall they had Monday night, but I haven't had much of a chance to do it on that. I think that's going to be an interesting race because I think organization is more of a factor in Democratic caucuses in Iowa because, you know, it's a different deal. In the Republican caucus, you just show up and vote. It's like any other election. The Democratic caucuses, you have to talk about it. You have this threshold thing. If your candidate doesn't make a 15% threshold, I think it is, you have to do a re-vote. And, of course, that's where your Martin O'Malley vote comes in. The Martin O'Malley vote, however small it is going to have a big influence on what happens Monday night. So I think organization is much more important for the Democrats, and that's why I still think Clinton's got a pretty good chance to beat Sanders on Monday. But there's no doubt Sanders has a lot of enthusiasm here.
What? All right, now, David, how cold is it in Iowa?
It was 27. I went to the Trump rally early yesterday because I wanted to talk to the first person in line, and I talked to this guy, a guy wearing a big NASCAR jacket with the M&M logo all over it. It was 12:30, and it was 27 degrees.
Oof,
we had a big snow here. I think it was Monday night, and it was a bigger snow than expected, so that kind of slowed me down, and I think slowed a few of the candidates. But the snow was cleared pretty easily on Tuesday morning, so people were able to get around, but it was still below freezing.
I bet you didn't have as much snow as we did, dude.
No, and it was definitely better handled.
But I bet it was better handled, too, yeah. All right. Well, good catching up with you on the campaign trail. David, I guess we'll talk to you next and see you next in New Hampshire.
We'll be in New Hampshire a week from today. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
See you there.
Got it. Talk to you there.
Sure,
all right.
bye.
Thanks. David Jackson, USA Today.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. Will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
David Farron-Holt from the Washington Post, top of the next hour.
All right, so when Sarah Palin endorsed Donald Trump, you know, she wore this jacket with metal danglies.
Right.
I don't really know how else to describe it, but we've all seen the jacket. Turns out that they found out the maker of the jacket. The company is called Millie. It is a $695 jacket that they made for their 2014 collection. They said that it is no longer available for sale. And one other thing, they want nothing to do with Sarah Palin. They want no affiliation with this at all. In fact, Saturday Night Live asked them if they could buy one from Tina Fey to wear, and they said absolutely not. They want nothing else to do with it. So SNL had to make one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. The Sarah Palin one and only jacket.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Donald Trump says if she's there, I'm not going to show. He is boycotting tomorrow night's Republican debate. And Fox News says that's too bad. Megyn Kelly is still going to be one of the moderators. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Shaking up the political world this morning here on Wednesday, January 27. And here we go to talk about that and everything else in the news today. As we always do, the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. That's where we're headquartered, right down the street from the United States Capitol building, where the Senate is kind of in session this week, but the House has taken another week off to enable Washington to dig out from all the snow, and also to enable members of Congress to get another week of relaxation at home. Wherever you happen to be, it's good to be with you, and thank you for joining us on this Wednesday as we reach out to you again from Washington, D.C. to wherever you are in this great land of ours, on the radio and on television, on your local progressive talk radio station, and on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Peter Ogburn, Jamie Benson. Hello,
Bill,
hello.
Happy Wednesday.
Ray Rogers on the phones, 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. Use it to tell us what you think about the issues of the day. Cyprian Bolden keeping us looking good on that video stream and on Free Speech TV. You know that Donald Trump was getting serious. Even before he dropped out of the debate, you knew he was getting serious. Last weekend, he did two things that are unheard of for Donald Trump. Saturday night, instead of flying home to his big, either down to Florida or to New York, where he has the mansions, right? He actually spent the night in a Holiday Express.
Holiday Inn, nice.
Out in Holiday Inn Express out in Iowa somewhere. He said it was a good bed. He had a good night's sleep. And the next morning, he got up and went to church. It's a wonder the walls didn't fall in, right? As Jimmy Fallon, or was Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel? I forget which one. Jimmy Fallon last night. Jimmy Fallon talked about. There was one part of the service that Trump really liked.
Donald Trump even went to a church service in Iowa over the weekend, and you could tell he doesn't go to church much because he was like, I really like the part where they passed me the basket of free money. That was reminded of what we did as a kid around the dinner table.
Actually, it was reported that Trump put 2 crisp $50 bills in the collection basket.
Oh, there you go.
He had those. He was prepared.
I'm sure the Trump campaign got that out. They got that message out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you bet. $100, cheapskate. Starting this hour with David Faranold from the Washington Post, and then followed by Jordan Fabian from The Hill. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so I like garlic knots, and I like pizza. Pizza Hut is counting on you loving both at the same time. In fact, they have unveiled their new limited edition stuffed garlic knots pizza. Basically, it's a crust on the edge is made of garlic knots. That is what the crust is made out of. 16 hand-rolled cheese-stuffed garlic knots on the crust of a large pizza served with 1 topping and 2 dipping cups of marinara sauce. So they think you take the pizza, eat the slice, and leave the garlic knots on the end, and then you could dunk those in the marinara sauce with which they have provided you. That monstrosity will cost you $12.99 if you like Pizza Hut pizza.
I was just going to say, the problem is it's still a Pizza Hut pizza.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I ate a Pizza Hut pizza. So I can't recommend it.
I do it twice a year.
Twice a year?
Yeah.
That's more than I do. I can't do the Pizza Hut thing. Don't go to this link. Do not go to this link. Right. It's going around. People are tweeting it out. People are sharing it. It's called crashsafari.com. You hear this? Basically, what happens is if you click on it while you're on your phone, either your iPhone or any of your other devices, Androids, things like that, it'll shut your phone down. It'll force a reboot of your phone. What happens is the site contains software that has created this code that generates an infinite string of characters that totally overwhelms and overloads your device's memory. So don't go there. If someone gives you a website that says crashsafari.com, it will do exactly that. It will crash your phone. So don't do it.
Thanks for the warning.
And we could have seen this coming, I guess. We mentioned all the endorsements that were flying around this week. Another one for Donald Trump, John Rocker.
Oh, yeah. Right.
John Rocker. You remember John Rocker? He's the former pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, who said when he was a pitcher, the thing that he dislikes the least about, or the thing that he dislikes the most about New York is all the foreigners. Remember he said that when he was a major league pitcher. So it should come as no surprise that he is supporting Donald Trump. He says, I think he has really woken America up, and says, I feel like America needs someone who, quote, has the sack to make bold statements, end quote.
Did he hate all those foreigners that helped him win games?
He hates foreigners.
You know, his teammates?
But he had a lot of foreigners on his team.
Well, yeah, so Donald Trump also picked up the endorsement of Sheriff Joe Arpaio and of Jerry Falwell Jr., who made it official.
Yeah.
That he's now officially endorsed. So, yeah.
That's a rogues gallery.
That's what I'll say.
LePage is stuck in Christie's camp, though.
Oh, that's right.
That would be the perfect pairing. Have them all together. He's a Christie guy.
Speaking of Chris Christie, actually, David Faranold from the Washington Post has been looking at Mr. Christie and his on-again, off-again love affair with the federal government. It seems like Christie, as governor of New Jersey, remember with Hurricane Sandy, got in trouble because he was giving President Obama a big hug when he came in to offer some federal help. And then over the weekend, the governor was back again in New Jersey, depending on, to a certain extent, the federal government for help with Snowzilla. David Farenthold has been following Mr. Christie for the Washington Post and joins us on a news line this morning. Hi, David. Good to have you with us again.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, what is this with Chris Christie? I mean, and it's also Atlantic City, I guess, right, where he was hoping the federal government would bail him out. So it's an on-again, off-again relationship that he's got. How does he handle it?
Well, that's right. He really, he's somebody who's talking about himself as kind of a small government conservative now on the campaign trail. But in the way that he's governed, he's often turned to bigger government, both bigger state government and the federal government, to try to solve some of New Jersey's problems. He mentioned some of the ones, disaster relief. A lot of people turned to the federal government after that. I wrote about Atlantic City, this famously troubled gambling town, where there it was the state government. Basically, Christie has tried over the years to intervene as the governor to try to save Atlantic City from the problems with the market. The problem is it hasn't worked. The government was trying to do things that only the market could do, trying to fix casinos. Imagine state government trying to tell a casino how to do a better casino. It hasn't worked. So yesterday, Christie sort of admitted that it hadn't worked. His answer was a bigger takeover. Instead of taking over half of Atlantic City, which he'd already done, he took over all of it.
Took over the state government, taking it over to run?
You'd be surprised. In New Jersey, the state government actually has a lot of power to run municipalities until he's asked for the legislature to give him authority to basically usurp the power of the city council and the mayor in Atlantic City. So not only could the state sell city property, break city contracts, close city departments, but it could also order the city council and the mayor to pass legislation. If Christie gets what he wants in the legislature, and he has a lot of backing in the legislature, so he probably will get it.
Well, I mean, this to me sounds, I had no idea New Jersey had that kind of authority. This to me sounds very much like Flint, Michigan, right? Or Detroit even, where Governor Snyder has appointed an emergency manager. And we had Dan Kildee, a congressman from Flint, Michigan, in yesterday who said these emergency managers have absolute total control over a city when they move in.
That's right. New Jersey's had this for a lot longer than Michigan has, but it's sort of a similar idea. There's been state takeovers of the schools in Newark and Patterson for a long time that haven't really worked that well. The state took over a lot of Camden, the famously troubled city across the river from Philadelphia. So New Jersey, this has happened before under Democrats and Republicans. It never really works out that well. And in this case, Christie is really, he would put basically an unelected state official in charge of a town of 40,000 that has its own elected officials.
Is to what extent does Christie's record experience as governor of New Jersey having any impact on his presidential campaign? Is it?
I think it is.
Talking about it? Go ahead.
It is. I mean, people talk about the hug with Obama, and I know people talk a lot about about Bridgegate. I think he was hoping they would focus on other aspects of his time as governor of New Jersey. Where he has did state pension reform. He did a lot of things. He talks about cutting costs. And so it's an interesting view into how governing New Jersey is different from the rest of the country. He's gotten some things done that he wanted to do, but in New Jersey, the power is so centralized, both in terms of power in him, but also the state legislature. Basically, there's a North Jersey faction and the South Jersey faction, so there's two guys to deal with. And if you get those two guys on the same page, you can do whatever you want. So he's done some things, but it means working with those people, working with those Democrats, and it's also sort of a not very complicated situation like being president would be.
Right. We haven't heard I must admit, we haven't heard too much about Bridgegate lately.
No, it's gone away, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's because Christie had a moment a few weeks ago in New Hampshire, but I don't think it's lasted. I think people like Kasich and Rubio and even Jeb are doing better than Christie now in New Hampshire. So there's been less attention. If Christie does have a moment, I'm sure we'll see Bridgegate come back.
No, you said the rest are doing better than Christie. At one point, it looked like Christie's stock was rising and that he might move out of... I mean, he has said, if he could do well in New Hampshire or win New Hampshire, that he would, even though he doesn't have the operation in other states, that he would catch on like wildfire and just be able to move through the rest of the primaries. Not happening now?
I don't think it's happening now. I think that's for a variety of reasons. I think Kasich has had a lot of positive advertisement in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Maybe some of the same goodwill I flowed to Kasich. Also, I thought Christie has used, he did this sort of straight talk persona in a way that appealed to people at the beginning of this month when he talked about heroin addiction and some other things in New Hampshire. But lately I feel like he's shown it in a way that just seems more bullying. If you recall the last debate, he said something and Rubio tried to speak after him and it was like, basically, shut up, Marco, you've already had your turn. I think that sort of behavior, I'm not sure that, a little bit goes a long way. I think he's not using a little bit.
I guess we saw another sign of that yesterday when somebody asked him what he was doing in New Hampshire instead of being in New Jersey helping with the snowstorm, and he said, "What do you want me to do? Get a mop?"
Yeah, right. And I think it was to a little girl too. So there's some appetite for that, but I think he thought that he would have the persona that Donald Trump has taken in this race, which is sort of things are too bad to be nice anymore kind of guy, and it hasn't really played out that way.
So do you think New Hampshire end of the road for Chris Christie?
I do believe that's true. I mean, I've been wrong about a lot of things before, but at this point, if of the four establishment candidates, Rubio, Bush, Kasich, and Christie, if he comes in last of those four, which means like sixth in the race, or even at the bottom of those, in third out of those four, I can't see how he goes on, because you're right, he does not have much of an organization in other states in the way that the rest of them do.
Everybody says that one of those four, and you mentioned them, all right, Kasich or Christie, or Bush, or who am I missing here? Rubio. I'm sorry. Whoa, wow. That one of those four is going to be the alternative to Trump and Cruz. Which one do you think it's going to be?
I mean, everybody seems to think it will be Rubio, just because he started out, he has the youth on his side, he has optimism on his side, but he has really underperformed the last few weeks.
He sure has, yeah.
And he's been attacked from all sides, and I don't really feel like he's come up with a good rationale for why it's him. And I think he's been dragged down by ads from all the other three establishment candidates. It probably still is most likely to be him. I don't know, Kasich has been on a real roll in New Hampshire. Yep. If Kasich does well in New Hampshire, he comes in third or second, maybe he becomes the guy. But he's also flawed because he's embraced Medicaid expansion and other things that conservatives don't like.
So could it be Bush?
I can't see how it could be. He has so much money, but I feel like his personality seems so ill-matched for this campaign. He's had his chance so many different ways and hasn't taken advantage of it. I just can't see it being him.
Not even his mother could save him, right?
Right, that's what Donald said. That's right.
Okay, great. Hey, David, good reporting, good work, and thanks so much for taking time for us this morning. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
At the Washington Post, WashingtonPost.com, political reporter David Farenthold.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
Tapped. And tied.
Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. A public service announcement brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, Jordan Fabian from The Hill, White House correspondent for The Hill, joins us in studio at the half hour. And now's a good time, if you haven't already done so. Order your copy, a signed copy of my new book, which comes out next week. Buyer's Remorse is the title, How Obama Let Progressives Down. It's worth a good read, I think, very, very fair. And it's buyer's remorse, not in the sense that, I'm sorry I bought that car, but, bought a good car. It just didn't perform as well as I thought it was going to perform. So we talk about all the good things that President Obama has done, give him credit for it, also talk about the ways in which he hasn't followed through on a lot of the goals that the progressives had, and we were hoping for a lot of the progressive agenda, and a big call on Hillary and Bernie to take the progressive agenda and run with it when one of them becomes our next president. We, be available in bookstores next week, but you can get your own signed copy, inscribed any way you want it. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com. Tell us how you want it signed, and we'll get it out to you right away. One other big item of news, getting away from the politics for a second, and that is out in Burns, Oregon, the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. It looks like that whole incident out there is over because last night the two leaders, Eamon Bundy and Ryan Bundy, with 5 other people, they were on their way to a gathering in another town about 70 miles away. And not sure the details, but they were stopped for some traffic violation. One of them opened fire, and fire ensued. One of the protesters was shot and killed, and 7 of them, including the 2 Bundy brothers, were arrested. So, for all practical purpose, that's the end of that.
It should be pointed out that the one person who died is the guy who made the statement. He was sort of the unofficial spokesperson.
Right.
He's the one who made the statement that we're here to defend freedom and we will die to defend that cause.
Right.
He said that he was ready to die for this.
I received a call, an email last week from one of our listeners out in Oregon who had written to Congressman DeFazio saying, what do you think about this, Congressman? Congressman DeFazio, a very strong letter back to him, says, this illegal occupation and resulting destruction of federal property is a direct result of the abject failure of the Obama administration to enforce the law against Clive Bundy, the father of wildlife refugee occupiers Eamon and Ryan Bundy, back a couple of years ago. So DeFazio, very, very critical of the Obama administration for letting Clive Bundy get away with it, and saying that basically that encouraged his sons to do the same thing here.
That's a good point.
It is all over, and I do think federal agents should have acted sooner than they did. We'll be back. Latest at the White House from Jordan Fabian
This
at the
is
Hill.
the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is Very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Maybe not as loud as Donald Trump, but he's a hell of a lot smarter. This is your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 33 minutes after the hour of The Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Things are starting to get back to normal today. Federal government open, but just a delayed opening. And we actually have another White House briefing today, the first one this week. We're brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, Leo Gerard. The United Steelworkers is North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. Yesterday morning on CNN, and we went live to a Bernie Sanders event out in Iowa, where he was talking to a group of one of the local steelworkers unions, a big crowd there. Steelworkers very active in this campaign, although the official union has not yet endorsed between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. So we are back to work at the White House today, but Jordan Fabian, he's been there even despite the snow, even though there was no official briefing. Covering the White House for The Hill, and joins us in our studio again this morning. Jordan, always good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
No problem. Good to see you, too.
What's a president do when he's snowed in like that? I mean, they just watch old movies or something?
I bet he wishes, but that's the problem when you live above the store, is that you have to work. So the president did work Monday and Tuesday. He actually visited some wounded soldiers at Walter Reed on Monday.
On Monday, right.
Used the helicopter to avoid the roads. So when you have the perks of the presidency, you can still do your job.
And that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Right.
That sounds nice.
And they get the walkways and the roadways around inside the White House grounds plowed pretty quickly.
Oh, it's pretty well plowed. I was over there yesterday, and everything is perfectly clear.
Yeah. Right. You live above the store. There's there's no break at all, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But back to work today. The president has had a few meetings while he was there. You've written about one of them with the Democratic leadership, right? Looking at really the prospects of getting anything done this year in the Congress.
That's right. He sat down with Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi yesterday. His to-do list for Congress is pretty small this year. We got the 2016 elections coming up, so you have your usual election year gridlock, and he's got a Republican-controlled Congress, so only a few things he can do. But one thing that was left off the list was the trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is interesting. Both of those leaders opposed that deal, so maybe not a surprise they didn't talk about it at length, but he figured something so high on the president's agenda wouldn't come up. But it was not included on the list of things that were talked about that was provided by the White House.
Well, you're right. It's surprising because every other time the White House talks about what we might be able to get done in Congress this year, there are two things: criminal justice reform and the TPP, right?
Right.
So I guess the TPP, where he got the trade authority or fast track last year, now the whole deal is up for a vote. It's going to be done with all Republicans or mostly Republicans?
They're going to have to rely on Republican votes like they did for the Trade Promotion Authority, but they're still going to need some Democrats because there are many Republicans in Congress who are not in favor of the trade deal as well. Mm-hmm. And even Mitch McConnell, the leader in the Senate, has said, he's opposed to many of the provisions in the deal, and he said, look, we shouldn't vote on this thing before the elections in November. So that would be a blow to the White House, I think, because they would really lose momentum, and they would have very little time to take a vote on it before Obama leaves office.
Yeah. So why do you think they left it off the list? Just because they knew that it was hopeless with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid?
Maybe. Again, we don't know if they talked about it or not. It just wasn't included on that list. So
I got it. Yeah.
It was just maybe a thing where they said maybe we don't want to let people know that we're talking about it for whatever reason. And, yeah, kind of an interesting omission there.
president has a very interesting meeting this afternoon.
That's right. He's meeting with Bernie Sanders, the Democratic presidential candidate. It's interesting because they said in advance that he was going to meet with Bernie. When he meets with Hillary, they always kind of keep it a secret from us. We always hear from Josh at the briefing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, he met with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, and by the way, they had lunch the other day, right?
Right.
She slipped in and they had lunch. Yeah, but we didn't bother to put it on the schedule.
Right. Exactly. But they announced this one in advance. It's going to be a private meeting, so I don't think we're going to hear from either of them. But it's really interesting because it comes on the heels of
Bernie will come to the stakeout position?
Yeah, let's pull a Bill Clinton and just hijack the briefing. How about that?
or come into the briefing room.
Right, exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be excellent. But yeah, I know it comes on the heels of these the comments that President Obama made in an interview this week, where I think he made it quite clear that he thinks that Hillary Clinton and not Bernie Sanders would be most prepared to serve in the White House. So it should be an interesting meeting.
Well, that's a question I've been wanting to ask Josh Earnest and still hope to have a chance to, because the official word has been from Josh, you've heard it. At one point he said the president might endorse, and then they changed that, and they said he hasn't endorsed and he's not going to make an endorsement. That's the last I heard, at any rate. And yet, I sort of call BS to that, because 4 cabinet members have already openly endorsed Hillary Clinton, campaigning for her, right? The president told Glenn Thrush, as you point out, right, that, in fact, he referred to Bernie as kind of the shiny new object.
Right. And said you can't just focus on one thing when you're in the Oval Office.
And that Hillary, from day one, she could govern because she's had all this experience. And then, I forget who was reporting this morning or last night, that some former Obama aides are saying openly, Ben LeBold, I think, was one of them, that Hillary is the logical successor to continue the Obama legacy. So when you add all of those up, isn't it clear President Obama is supporting Hillary Clinton?
Oh, I think it's abundantly obvious that's the preferred candidate in the West Wing. There's no question about it. But I think it would be to Clinton's detriment if President Obama were to give a public endorsement at this stage. I think that would come from a place of weakness for Hillary, that maybe she's struggling to push aside Bernie, so she needs a boost from the president to get that done.
Yeah.
So I think for her sake, it's best if the president at this point stays on the sidelines. But the meeting is interesting, though, because it's also a recognition of Bernie's strength in this race. That, I think if Bernie was running 30 points behind Hillary, I don't think this meeting would really be happening. Look, he's not taking a meeting with Martin O'Malley. You know what I mean? So,
who?
Exactly. Poor Martin O'Malley.
No, that's right. I mean, Bernie's getting the one-on-one. And they did meet before. I mean, Josh didn't give us any details on that, but
yeah, they met at the congressional ball, I think. The reception, the holiday reception for lawmakers.
I thought they'd had a private meeting, a one-on-one meeting.
Oh, maybe they did. But also, it should be interesting, right? Because these are two guys who haven't really gotten along in the past. Bernie tried to filibuster Obama's tax deal in 2010 when he tried to extend some of the Bush-era tax cuts. And he also said that Obama should have a primary challenge in 2012 from the left. Mm-hmm. So a complicated history for these guys, so it should be a quite interesting meeting.
Right.
Too bad we won't be able to hear from either of them about it.
Well, I hope you're wrong on that. I hope Bernie comes out to at least, if not in the briefing room, to the stakeout position and talks about it. But it is clear. I think it's clear where they're tilting, and they see the logical continuity, if you will. I doubt that leads to an actual endorsement. But you can't hide the leaning at any rate. And Bernie's got a huge number of followers, right? They don't want to alienate those people either.
But that was another interesting thing that the president said in the Glenn Thrush interview, which is that whoever wins, they're going to need the other candidate's supporters. And so I think that was his, without saying it, that was his rationale for not making an endorsement now, because he doesn't want to divide the party.
The other thing that I thought was very illustrative too, is when Glenn said, "Does Bernie this year remind you of yourself and Obama said, right, no, that's not true.
That was what most struck me. I mean, that was the biggest comment to me.
And yet, a lot of the same stuff that Hillary is saying about Bernie today is things that she said about Obama in 2008. He doesn't have the experience. He's not ready to govern on day one. He's unelectable. I mean, you get down the list. It's absolutely repeat. They said bright new shiny bright new whatever it is. Yeah, Barack Obama, 2008.
Yeah, and then you have Bernie on the stump in Iowa saying, "Oh, a certain candidate 8 years ago, was really was running behind, and rode this wave of support to victory, and I wonder who that is. Who could he be talking about?"
All right. Interesting political stuff. So the 2016 comes right to the campaign comes right to the Oval Office today. Jordan Fabian all over it for The Hill, thehill.com. Your question, your comment, is it pretty clear that President Obama is tacitly, if not openly, supporting Hillary Clinton? We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, Carolyn Fiddler, Democratic strategist, joins us at the top of the next hour right now. Here in studio with us on his way to the White House, Jordan Fabian covers the White House for The Hill, thehill.com. I'll be joining you a little bit later. On the schedule, it's 12:30, Jordan, but you and I both know the briefings don't quite start on time.
It's more of a suggestion.
Yeah, that's right. You can kind of count on about a half an hour late. It just seems almost like clockwork. Before we get into the agenda for going beyond into 2016, Mary has a question from out in Ouray, Colorado. Hi, Mary. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning to all of you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm curious, do you think the president sort of leaning toward Hillary has something to do with, I want to use the word a little wishy-washy on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, where Bernie has definitely indicated he's opposed to it. She kind of left the door open when she gave that comment on it long time ago, that she wanted to look at it. But I just kind of wonder whether there could be a connection, or among other things, Hillary would be a great president, but I was wondering if the TPP might have something to do with it.
Good question. Thanks, Mary. What do you think, Jordan? I mean, the former First Lady, the former Secretary of State, at one point she supported the TPP.
Yeah, and Secretary of State, she helped kind of start those talks, but now she's come out against it. Look, I think
she called it the gold standard, I believe, at one time.
Yes, she did.
Trade deals,
and now
right?
Now it's fallen short. Look, I think it goes much deeper than TPP. She was in the administration for 4 years. She's come to form a relationship with the president, and I think what the president says is why he is tacitly supporting her is that she has the experience and the knowledge to come in and serve and then continue his legacy. I mean, that's the number one thing on his mind. He wants the sort of the goals and successes of his administration to be preserved and then to be advanced. And then he sees Hillary as the number one person to do that.
If there were one other issue, I think you're right. I think it's overall it's a relationship that they have built. And one thing that's very important to President Obama is loyalty.
Yes.
Both ways, right?
Yes.
She's been loyal to him once she became part of the administration. And he's been very loyal to her and continues to be. I think TPP is one issue, but maybe more important is Obamacare, where she's really singing the praises of Obamacare and talking about it can be fixed, but we have to build on it. And Bernie is not attacking Obamacare, but he's also pointing out the shortfalls of Obamacare and why we would have been better off, which I believe, to go to a single-payer system. But overall, I think it's that relationship that they built.
Yeah, no, I think your point on Obamacare is really good, and that's just a prime example. I mean, that's his number one legislative accomplishment as president, and he wants it continued. And like you said, Hillary is saying she will continue it, and Bernie is saying, well, maybe we need a little bit of a different system.
It's amazing to me how quickly the news can move on. The talk has been so dominated by either snow or by 2016. Nobody's talking anymore about Syria. We still have an ongoing war with ISIS, with Syria. I mean, to what extent is this occupying President Obama's time?
Well, I think he gets these morning briefings every morning, and I think that situation has to be included in that every single day. And
right.
Yeah, you still have these ongoing talks in was it Geneva, where they're trying to work out some kind of exit plan for Bashar Assad. So not in the headlines, but I think behind the scenes these things are still going on, and all it's going to take is another attack or something, either here or over there or somewhere else to get it back into the public conscious.
Right.
Because that's all it seems. That's what it seems to get people interested. People aren't really interested in hearing about the day to day, for better or for worse.
But President Obama, now you're in his position, and so you got 11 months to go, right? What can they possibly realistically hope to achieve on any front, whether it's the economic front, environmental front, foreign policy front, immigration front, this year?
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court is hearing a case on President Obama's immigration actions, and if they get a favorable ruling, that program, which could protect up to 5 million undocumented immigrants, could actually go into place. So that would be a pretty big deal. And they're also pushing Congress to pass a criminal justice reform bill. This is something that the president has said is a very important thing for his legacy, for and also for helping African American communities and Hispanic communities that have been locked up because of the drug war. So that's something that's on the top of his agenda as well. So I think those two things may be, aside from the trade deal, two of the biggest things left on his agenda. Guantanamo too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Apparently Ash Carter said he sent the plan to the president. So maybe a matter of days before we see it.
Yeah, I think they are. I believe they're down now below 100.
Yeah, I think it's something like 90. I don't want to say the wrong number, but like 96 or something like that. Yeah,
because they have been finding more countries willing to accept more of these prisoners. So, but that must be they must be spending a lot of time, shaping that list. Okay, this is how much time we have left, and this is what we can achieve, and let's try at least to get things done before we leave office. Obviously, we know the Afghanistan war is going to continue on beyond. The president has said that. And I imagine the war against ISIS will continue it.
And they've said that many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not going to be over. Okay. Justin, save me a seat today. I'll see you at 12:30 or thereabouts.
12:30-ish.
12:30-ish down at the White House. And thanks for starting off the day with us.
Thank you.
Jordan Fabian, The Hill, thehill.com. And I'll come back and tell you what's on the president's agenda today.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. Hey, it ain't over yet because the fat lady didn't sing. So we have hour number 3 coming up. And remember, hour number 3, a little delay on Free Speech TV until 5 p.m. Eastern. But you can catch us right away live on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And join the chat room there, too, and have a lot of fun. We will have Carolyn Fiddler, Democratic strategist, in studio with us in the next hour, and then talk to Gabriel De Benedetti from Politico as well. Lots more coming up. Hour number 3. Don't miss it.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
Should I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Busy day for President Obama at the White House. He gets a daily briefing this morning, then meets with Secretary of the Treasury, Jack Lew. Afterward, this morning, he will be meeting with Bernie Sanders one-on-one in the Oval Office. Then he and the Vice President have lunch. Later in the afternoon, the President will be conducting live interviews with anchors from, Richmond, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Salt Lake City, Denver, Los Angeles, and Oakland. They will each get 2 minutes with the President.
All around the map there?
Yeah, all
right.
over the map. I don't know how much time they'll get, but it'll be all allotted there. And then this evening, he goes over to the Embassy of Israel here in Washington to help them commemorate International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Busy day for the President. We have a briefing, as we discussed with Jordan Fabian, at 12:30 at the White House. Democratic strategist Carolyn Fiddler joins us in the next half hour here on the Bill Press Show. So stay tuned there wherever you're watching or listening. Good to have you with us today. Hour number 3 coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Societies, civilizations, in some sense, are like our bodies. If there's something systemically wrong, it's manifesting all over the place, in all our organs, and that seems to be what's going on in our world at the moment.
The system is failing all around us.
Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our jails are full and can't hold more people. Our young people are burdened with $1 trillion in student debt.
We're in a heap of trouble.
When the temperature of the Earth is starting to rise, that's a very bad sign. Our Earth is running a fever, and it's running it because it's sick in many ways.
In a country like the United States, the fact that anywhere from 45 to 50 million people are hungry, this is a problem.
We can't go on like this. We can't keep moving toward climate catastrophe, nuclear war, persistence of inequality, poverty, famine.
There is a systems problem. These are not one-off issues. They are interconnected, and we have to look at the system as a whole.
It's time to talk about alternatives. It's time to talk about what's next.
We need to be aspirational and be clear about the vision of the world that we want.
What is the system that humanizes us? What is the system that opens up our imagination of possibilities of cooperation?
Nothing is more important right now than to discuss how can we bring about this change.
As systems fail, individual and community creativity explodes, and that's what we have seen. People in this country are solving the problems themselves. They're coming up with new models and strategies, and within those models and strategies are the kernels of a systemic way to move forward.
Land trusts, cooperatively owned businesses,
sustainable energy,
state-owned banks,
urban gardening, urban farming.
These small successes taken together are a proof of concept that this can happen on a larger scale.
We're compelled to search for alternatives, not just analytically, but in how we live and what we do, how we organize our daily lives. And that has tremendous potential.
Our actions and our imagination have to match the magnitude of this problem.
We have to get out of our comfort zone. We must think with courage.
All bets are off in terms of our previous thinking. Our ways of thinking about the economy and our ways of thinking about politics have proven an abject and utter failure. The good news is we have no choice but to adopt revolutionary thinking. I like that.
That's the exciting part about this moment. When there are no rules, then people have freedom to invent and to create new things.
I have no doubt that we can create a better America.
If the people who cared about these things really joined together to do something about them, anything is possible.
The biggest worry for me is that we don't try, is that we don't push for what we know is right, for what we know is possible.
It's time for everybody who cares about this country and the future of the planet to do something about it, to get involved.
We can actually do better. We can build a better system. It's not impossible. It's a very American thing to do, to build a new system.
It's a challenge. We can do it collectively, neighborhood by neighborhood, step by step.
I think that the world that we're on the verge of is a bright and beautiful and interesting one. Complex, local, interconnected. I hope we get there.
It's time to talk about what's next. Please come and sign our statement at thenextsystem.org.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
If she's there, I ain't showing up, says Donald Trump. He's afraid of Megyn Kelly. Can you believe it? How's he going to handle ISIS? Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning or good day, whatever time you're watching. The Bill Press Show, hour number 3. Here we go. On this Wednesday, January 27, you'll find us in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where we are just about dug out from the snow, enough for the city to get back to work today, even though now it is Slushville time and the most disgusting time of any snowstorm. But we'll bear through it and don't mean to whine about it. Wherever you happen to be, thank you for joining us on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast, and also on that little television screen there on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. help us cover the Democratic politics, particularly of the year of 2016 at every level. Democratic strategist Carolyn Fiddler, who's also the National Communications Director for the DLCC, joining us again in studio. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. And you join our team here, whom you know well, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hey.
Good
Always
morning.
A pleasure.
They have been here every day during the snowstorm.
That's hardcore.
That's
very
right.
serious.
We're very hardcore. We're very intense. And damn it, we love our jobs.
Extreme.
Oh, payday was last week.
That's right.
Actually,
Yeah,
I should save more of this for next week.
I'll save the tape.
Thank you.
Ray Rogers wants to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, so keep her busy. And Cyprian Bolding, always busy, keeping all these cameras switched on and moving around and picking up the show. And we got lots to talk about. By the way, do you live in Maryland or Virginia?
I live in Virginia.
In Virginia, yeah. Well, people in Maryland might have a little identity problem, with their governor who's running for president but hasn't quite, kind of made the impact that he wanted. So Jimmy Kimmel last night sent some people out, man on the street in Hollywood.
Yeah.
On Hollywood Boulevard, which, by the way, is quite people-watching place, part of Los Angeles, with a picture of Martin O'Malley. Do you know who this man is?
Hi, excuse me, who is this?
I don't know.
Hi, who is this?
Al Gore.
Yes. Sir, who is this?
I don't know.
What's his name?
Gary Coleman.
Nope. Gary Coleman. Hi, who is this?
John Kerry, duh.
Okay. Hi, who is this?
That is O'Malley.
Yes.
Oh, thank God somebody knew.
The best was the dude that just made up a name. This is Jerry Coleman.
Al Gore.
Yeah.
A young Al Gore, maybe. A thin Al Gore.
That's Rick. You know Rick from across the way? That's him.
That's pretty cruel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's Dave's brother, John.
But
this is Jerry Coleman.
But that's not the problem. The problem is that they could show that photo to a lot of people in Iowa who might have same reaction. Huh? It's going to be interesting tonight at the caucuses because you have a 15% threshold. And if in each of those precincts, if O'Malley's supporters don't have 15%, then they have to decide, okay, we can't be here for our guy.
Right.
Which one are we going to move to, right? Or just go home. But so this is coming up on the big day. We'll get into particularly some of the state legislative races with Carolyn Fiddler. And Gabriel DeBenedetti from Politico joins us at the half hour. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Some sad news to report right off the top here. Yesterday we said farewell to Abe Vigoda.
No, he's not dead.
I know. This is so hard to believe.
No.
Because Abe Vigoda, people have been making jokes about Abe Vigoda being dead for like 25 years now.
He's not dead.
But this is the word from his daughter. She confirmed that he has passed away at the age of 94. Good run for the character actor. Best known for his work in The Godfather as Tessio and also as Detective Fish in Barney Miller. He also was just known for being really, really old and late in his career. But he rolled with it. God love him. He had a sense of humor. He would show up to these celebrity roasts and people would make fun about how they thought he was dead. He showed up in a Snickers commercial about the just being like an old crotchety guy. So he had a sense of humor about it, but it finally caught up with him. 94 years young is Abe Vigoda.
So the next time they say, I thought you were dead, he can say, I am.
There's a website that's just called isAbeVigodaDead.com. And it's been running for the longest time. Sure. And it just shows, no. Then yesterday they change it. He is dead. The LA Clippers and the NBA, boy, oh boy, do they have a problem on their hands. Because of Blake Griffin's hand. He broke a bone in his right hand because he threw a couple of punches, at an equipment manager that works for the team. Matthias Testi is the man's name, and apparently he and Blake Griffin are good friends. They're good friends. And they went out to dinner, and it sounds like things got out of control. Sources say that they were out at dinner when Blake Griffin punched Testi after they traded insults. Testi then got up and left the restaurant. and Griffin followed him and punched him again outside. The equipment manager had visible injuries to his face, and because of that, he broke his hand. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken hand.
Clippers imploding.
Clippers full on imploding. And you want to do something special for Valentine's Day? A little special someone in your life? Look no farther than the Waffle House. The Waffle House.
That's my idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, they are putting together, I know, this is a way to any woman or man's heart by taking them to the Valentine's Day setup at Waffle House. Now, they're going to vary from location to location, but they're going to set up to be a lot more romantic. This includes red lights that they're going to put up, so they're going to have like a red glow.
Sounds terrifying.
So, right? Like, it's something you're walking into hell. Some of them are going to have live music being performed at the Waffle House, some romantic music. They're also going to have their typical menu of waffles, eggs, breakfast sandwiches, bacon. They're also going to be offering a T-bone special. Yeah.
A waffle? T-bone waffle?
A T-bone steak. T-bone steak.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, all right.
They're going to have roses on the table, mood lighting. So,
would you eat steak at Waffle House, Bill?
I wouldn't eat a waffle at Waffle House.
Oh, dude, the waffles at Waffle House are delicious. Straight up and down. You got to get.
I think I've ever been in.
You got to get the pecan waffle though. That's a pro tip for me to you. The hash browns. Oh my god.
Not pecan.
Is it better than IHOP?
Pecan. Oh, it's a million times better than IHOP.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, I'm still.
That being said, they serve steak there all the time. Don't eat the steak.
Great. Yeah.
Don't eat the steak at Waffle House, folks.
Okay. All right. We've already made other plans for Valentine's Day.
Have you?
Thank you.
Oh,
yes, indeed. Now, being a resident of Virginia, the big news that isn't getting reported about tomorrow night's debate is not that Donald Trump is not showing up, but Jim Gilmore is.
It's his time. Feel the Gilmentum. Finally, we're recognizing his greatness.
How did he manage this? And not having been in, this is the 7th debate, right?
Something like that, yeah.
So he has not qualified for 6 debates so far, and he finally gets up on the big stage?
Yes, it's his time.
Are there 2 debates tomorrow night?
There are.
Yeah.
2. Okay, so he'll be on the...
He's at the kids' table.
The kids' table.
He's at the table.
He's moving
But
up.
he's at the table, right. And then Donald Trump doesn't show. I think this is a direct slap at Jim Gilmore.
I know. He noticed Gilmore getting all the coverage, and he's like, "How am I gonna trump this? If you'll pardon me." And boom, he did it. But you know what? Gilmore still gets to be there. Still gets to do his thing.
I have to say, it has been absolute BS that he hasn't been on one before, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Politics aside, if you're going to have an undercard debate and you're going to carve out this sort of place for the also-rans to play in, you got to include him. He's not performing very well, but you got to at least give him a stage, right?
But he's hit 1%. Now he's performing better than some.
Yeah, right?
Well, with Pataki going, he picked up Pataki's vote.
That's right.
That's what happened.
Right.
Can't stop, won't stop.
You keep a particular eye at the DLCC on the world of state legislatures. Okay, so I just saw some numbers last night that since President Obama took office, Democrats have lost 30 state chambers. Is that because Democrats have just been asleep at the switch and haven't been paying enough attention to state legislative races?
Not at all, actually. When Obama got elected after the 2008 elections, going into the critical 2010 elections, Democrats actually had control of 60 state legislatures. But then 2010 was 2010 and was a disaster all the way up and down the ballot. And so, having just gotten super, super lucky, Republicans all across the country were able to redraw districts to their own designs, and that was also applied to state legislatures as well as Congress. The gerrymandering for Congress gets all the news because Democrats got more votes nationwide for Congress in 2012, but got fewer seats. But the same thing happened on the state legislative level, but more intensely. Democrats picked up 8 chambers in 2012 and should have theoretically picked up more. Democrats won more votes in chambers like the Michigan House, the Wisconsin Assembly, and the Michigan House, and at least one more, I believe, in 2012, but won only a minority of seats.
But
in
the
those
fact
chambers.
remains that so many of these state legislatures now are in Republican hands,
Correct.
which means, for one thing, they can draw new districts, right, which will benefit the Republican Party, in fact, the Tea Party, in many cases, right?
Yep.
And they can push some issues which may not stand a chance, right, anywhere else, but they can get them through the state legislature.
They push them hard, too.
Yeah. So what are the issues that are dominating in the states right now?
Well, right now, almost 40 legislative chambers are in session, so there's a lot happening. For most states, this is the first legislative session since those Planned Parenthood doctored videos came out last summer. So a lot of states are, especially ones controlled by Republicans, are taking full advantage of this opportunity to try and strip Planned Parenthood of funding. One place to watch for that right now is Wisconsin, especially.
Oh, yeah, under Scott Walker, right?
Yeah. So another thing that's really, really hot.
Just a second on Planned Parenthood. There's also efforts, I don't know how many hearings are scheduled on the Planned Parenthood thing in Congress, in this Republican-controlled Congress. Right. But after what happened in Houston yesterday,
yes,
where the makers of this video were actually indicted for breaking the law, and if found guilty could face up to 20 years in prison, doesn't that, when obviously the purpose of the Republican District Attorney General was to have Planned Parenthood people indicted for selling baby parts, and it went just the opposite of what he intended.
Oops.
Doesn't that kind of take the wind out of the sails of these state legislative efforts?
You would think so, but it's not going to really, because a lot of these...
Yeah, why let the facts get in the way, right?
Well, there's why let the facts get in the way, but also cracking down on what Republicans see as increased access to choice and abortion. That's been their cause ever since they gained power in these state legislatures in 2010. They've been hammering away at rights, whether it's extreme waiting periods or no abortions after 20 weeks, things like that. This Planned Parenthood thing is just the latest excuse to crack down on.
So they're still going to go forward at the state level?
Oh, yes.
How about legalization of pot?
That is not moving forward as much as one might think, given the fact that it's polling is so much in favor of legalizing pot
And
nationwide.
we have the experience of Colorado and Washington State now, which is
right.
D.C. I mean, where it's working, certainly in Colorado.
True, but in both of those states, it was passed by ballot measure, and a lot of states don't have that kind of legislative remedy available. If
Right.
you can't get something through the legislature, there are no provisions for ballot measures in like Virginia or Wisconsin. So it's going to be in fits and starts, and it's going to be a while before it starts moving in legislatures, I think. I think ballot measures are probably the most likely way forward for pot for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the only state that I know of that is handling this problem legislatively is Rhode Island, which the head legislation didn't make it the last time.
Right.
But we talked to Congressman David Cicilline a week or so ago, who supports the legislation, and he thought it would be reintroduced with maybe a better success this year. But
hopefully.
So it's not as high on the list of priorities as defunding Planned Parenthood is.
Unfortunately.
That's what you're telling us. And are those a lot of those legislative seats up this year?
Yes, this is a huge year in state legislatures. The vast majority of states have most, if not all, of their seats on the ballot. Some state Senate chambers are staggered. So this is a huge year. Plus, there is the presidential race at the top of the ticket, so
Right.
turnout will be much more favorable to Democrats.
But isn't it true that we tend to focus on the White House, the U.S. Senate, the House of Representatives, and we don't pay as much attention as we should to governors, at least Democrats, to governors' races and to state legislative races?
I think that's true, and I think that needs to change. It's vital to the long-term health of the Democratic Party.
See, there's a plug for the DLCC, the DLCC.org, and that's their entire job, is to look at these state legislative and governor's races. The DLCC.org, here with Carolyn Fiddler. A question or a comment? We've got a lot more to cover here when we come back. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
when I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use, which is a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Gabriel De Benedetti, national political reporter for Politico in the next half hour here. Carolyn Fitter is the communications director for the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, Democratic strategist here in studio with us. Let's talk about governor's races. How many up and what looks good?
The vast majority are up this year, but the really competitive ones are in places like West Virginia, where there will be an open Democratic seat. And it's really, really crucial that Democrats keep that because Democrats lost control of the state legislature in 2014.
We also have right to work as an issue in West Virginia.
Some recent news on that. It passed, right to work passed the state Senate late last week. And there was also a crucial decision in a decision whether or not to seat a state senator who was replacing a party switcher.
I know it's
who left.
A little complicated.
It is. The Supreme Court decided to seat a Republican, not a Democrat, even though the guy had been elected as a Democrat, which maintains the Democratic majority in the state Senate. The reason that is crucial is that you only need a simple majority to override a veto. Mm-hmm. On most legislation in West Virginia. So even if the governor vetoes right to work, the legislature still can override it now.
Override it, right. So West Virginia is one key state. Others?
Yes. Let's see. New Hampshire, Democrats need to keep that. It's going to be a very competitive race now that the current governor is running for U.S. Senate. So that will be a challenging one. Let's see.
Jerry Brown's not up,
right?
At any rate, forget the
yes.
Those again, they tend to get lost in the mix,
They do.
And they shouldn't. So we'll just have to. We will do our job of keeping you informed on those governor's races. And Carolyn, thanks for your time this morning.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I see dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go at 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. with our latest take on tomorrow night's debate. And still looking back, tomorrow night's the big news, of course. Donald Trump says he won't show because Megyn Kelly will be there and he doesn't like her. It's still a lot of talk about Monday night's town hall meeting, not a debate, with in order Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley and Hillary Clinton on CNN, taking questions from likely caucus goers out in Iowa. On the ground in Iowa for Politico, national political reporter Gabriel DeBenedetti joins us on our news line this morning. Gabriel, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
So you reporting for Politico the 5 big takeaways from the forum. Run us through them quickly. Let's talk about it.
Sure. I think the first big one that we saw was that Hillary Clinton still doesn't have the answer for her emails. It doesn't really matter for her in the Democratic primary, but she stumbled a little bit, and if she makes it to the general, this is something that Republicans aren't going to let go away, so she's going to have to figure out a coherent way to quickly dispatch that question. Another one is she's hugging Obama very close.
Right.
He has very high approval ratings, especially in Iowa and in South Carolina among Democrats, and so she's trying to make sure that she's got his mantle. The third was, the forum itself just basically didn't move the ball. It let these candidates give their stump speeches, and that was, an effective use of time, maybe, but it wasn't. No one really got pushed hard on any issue that's been dogging them. Fourth is Bernie Sanders, the 74-year-old senator, has no reason to believe in his mind that his health is going to be an issue, and he sort of brushed it off entirely when asked. He sort of said, "This is ridiculous. Come on, let's move on. I was an athlete." And the fifth one, which may be the most important in the home stretch here in Iowa, is that he knows what hurts him in the primary. He really demonstrated that he has rehearsed answers on the questions about gun control and the questions about, how he feels about groups like Planned Parenthood, which he a few days ago called the establishment before walking that back.
Right. Well, I want to come back to the first one. On the email thing just keeps I don't think there's anything there. I've said that so many times, but it does keep dogging her. She says it's only because Republicans keep it alive. Is there more to it than that?
Well, I think there is definitely something to her point that this is because Republicans keep it alive, but there are still questions. I mean, her emails still haven't all been released. There is still the ongoing investigation. Again, this is not necessarily something that's hurt her at all in the Democratic primary in a way that is provable. But the reason that this is worrisome for some Democrats is because she sort of stumbled and said that it wasn't bad judgment and, bristled when asked about her apology. This is something that if she makes it to the general election, going to have to be able to deal with in a quick and simple way.
I was surprised to hear her say it wasn't bad judgment because I thought that she had said at one time that it was bad judgment, that it was a mistake to have her. She didn't say that initially, but I thought she got around to saying that it had been a mistake to have a private server in her home.
Right. Well, one of the problems is that we really do have to go back and parse words through her various apologies and interviews on this topic, and that's not really an effective message to be sending.
No, not a good place to be in. Just jumping around, you said that Bernie knows what hurts him in the primary. He also knows what helps him in the primary, doesn't he? In terms of staying on message, I mean...
Yeah,
it's Wall Street, right? It's minimum wage, it's income inequality, and that's his theme.
Absolutely. And then, once in a while he'll throw in a little bit of foreign policy stuff because he got hit on that for a long time. So now he says, I may not have the experience, but I have the judgment. I didn't vote for the war in Iraq. You're right. He's clearly an extremely talented politician in terms of staying on message and getting people riled up with the same message. I mean, when you go to these events that he holds, he basically says the same exact thing, word for word, for 40 minutes every single time before taking questions.
And I should have mentioned campaign finance reform, too, which is something he always talks about because he ties them together. Right.
Yes.
Now, you talked about the format. It's interesting. I kind of liked the format because I thought we had a chance to really get to know a little bit each of the candidates and hear them make their case rather than being interrupted or being asked snarky questions. So I don't know whether it's served. You're right, though. I can understand. I don't know whether it served them in terms of generating more interest in the race or moving the dial, right? Moving the needle.
Right. I think the thing to note about that is this certainly let the candidates each put their best foot forward. But what it did not do is really introduce new stuff about them, unless they really wanted to bring it out. And there was the policy dial did not change at all. There was no new policy ground broken, and we didn't learn anything new about the candidates' disagreements with each other. So in terms of them introducing themselves to a broader audience, it was very effective.
Now, what about this unscheduled, illegal, whatever debate that's been called for next week? February 4, I believe, I think. Yeah.
That's right. The NBC and the New Hampshire's Union Leader newspaper threw this together. O'Malley's all in, as he should be because he wants all the attention he can get at this point. Clinton says she's in if all the other candidates are in, and therefore the DNC sanctions it. Bernie's not said a word, and the DNC says, nice try, we're not sanctioning this thing. So we have no idea what's going to happen, basically. There's this big looming question mark over that night, which is just before the New Hampshire primary. It would clearly be in Clinton's interest to do it because she's performed well in debates, and it would clearly not be in Sanders' interest to do it because he's by far the front runner in New Hampshire. And when you're that far ahead and you have the power to say, I don't want to be on stage with my opponents, why would you be? But it's not clear what's going to happen right now.
That's interesting. I thought Bernie had agreed. So Bernie has not yet agreed. He may, but he has not yet agreed to do it. So
that's right.
And without him, there won't be a debate, will there?
Right. You've got to think that it would be hard to see a one-on-one between Hillary Clinton and Martin O'Malley just because the Clinton forces that would not be a good
that just ain't gonna happen
for her.
I don't think anybody's calling for that.
That would make her look like she's part of the kiddie table, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is that she has said, or her team has said, she won't participate unless everyone else does, and the DNC sanctions it. So even if Bernie does come around and say, I want to do this thing, the DNC has already said, we're not sanctioning this thing. So it's really hard to see how this comes together as a debate. It could turn into a forum of some sort. They're already doing one of those, I think the night after when this is supposed to be. But there's a big looming question mark. And New Hampshire is one of the states where there have been a lot of calls for more debates.
You've also, Hillary said yesterday something in response to a question about a possible future for President Obama.
Yeah, so this is the first time she's been asked this question. She was at a town hall in Decorah, Iowa, and someone said, Secretary Clinton, what do you think about putting President Obama on the Supreme Court? And she sort of said, well, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. Why not? And then she used it to segue into her usual answer about the importance of electing a Democratic president because of Supreme Court appointments. But then she went back and said, it would be a tough confirmation if we didn't have a Democratic Senate, but, I'll take it under advisement.
Pardon my ignorance, but is that even possible?
What?
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Yes. In fact, I think one former president did end up on the Supreme Court.
Taft was on the Supreme Court
Justice
after he was president.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's funny.
Right. So what I find funny about that is that there was a lot of talk about President Obama appointing Hillary Clinton to the Supreme Court. Yeah,
that's right.
So,
she did say, I think he's got better things to do after he's president.
Yeah. You talk about a tough confirmation process.
Right.
Ooh, boy. It'd be good for us. It'd be good for us to cover it, but boy, that's like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those unscripted questions sometimes that you get answers. That's what's so fun about these town halls, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
and she's been getting better at answering those questions, so it's been interesting to watch.
I have to tell you, I thought I'd love your take on it, but I thought each one of them was in very good form Monday night. Bernie and Martin O'Malley and Hillary's the best I've ever seen her.
Yeah. Well, they're all hitting their stride as they should be. And the other thing is that each of them got questions, except for Clinton's email question, that really allowed them to spread their message in the right way. Bernie's first question was, are you surprised with all the excitement that you have? This is a guy who spends 20 minutes of his stump speech talking about the excitement that he has and how surprised he is by it. And then Clinton was basically asked over and over, tell us about all the great foreign policy experience that you have, And O'Malley, I don't know if people know about him as much, but, his whole message is new generation. And the first question was something like, other than, who are you? It was, what is the biggest issue facing the next generation? So, yeah. It was in their wheelhouse.
No, absolutely. For each one of them. I'd never heard Bernie speak about his parents and about
that was very touching.
That question about what they might think about you today, from where they came from. Wow, very, very touching.
I don't know. Bernie was a real deal basketball player either.
Yeah.
In elementary school.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Real deal basketball player back in the day.
Okay. Hey, Gabriel, good to catch up with you out in Iowa. Enjoy the roller coaster ride out there, okay? And Monday night, big night coming up. We'll talk
thanks very much.
Soon. All right, thank you. Gabriel De Benedetti, Politico.com.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple and they add up and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. And like Archimedes said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
All right. On this Wednesday, January 27, make it 11 minutes before the top of the hour. And, of course, the big political story of the day is the announcement. Sort of upset the apple cart in the 2016 Republican primary. Donald Trump's announcement that he will not participate in the 7th Republican debate, which is scheduled tomorrow night on the mighty Fox News. And Donald Trump says he won't do it because Megyn Kelly is one of the moderators, and Megyn Kelly is not fair to him, and he doesn't like her, and she doesn't like him, and so therefore he had said ahead of time, unless Fox News fires Megyn Kelly or takes her off the panel, he would not show up. He's been sort of teasing that. I didn't think he meant it, but yesterday, he said, nope, we made the decision, not going to show up. Here he is. He leaves it a little iffy here, talking to reporters yesterday in Iowa.
I probably won't bother doing the debate. I see they picked me as number one. Not only number one by far, but probably I won't be doing the debate. Probably. Then his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, said afterwards, definitely not going to do the debate. They have scheduled or are in the process of scheduling a second event, their own event, to raise money for wounded warriors, and Donald Trump has invited the other networks to carry that event. And Donald Trump snarkily says, well, let's see how much money Fox News can make without me. Let's see how much money Fox is going to make on the debate without me.
Word for word there, Donald Trump. It's a challenge. He's the first Republican candidate to sort of bust this myth that you can never stand up to Fox News.
Yeah.
And we've been reported that Roger Ailes has been calling him to maybe reconsider. And Donald Trump said he will not take Roger Ailes' calls. He will only speak to Rupert Murdoch.
Which is hilarious.
Total. Talk about control freak. And people are torn. You know, I've been reading other reports this morning whether this makes Donald Trump look strong or weak. I tend to think it makes him look weak, like he's afraid of Megyn Kelly. She, on the other hand, is not backing down. Last night on her show, she said this is, Trump being the control freak.
Trump is not used to not controlling things as the chief executive of a large organization. But the truth is, he doesn't get to control the media. And while he's made his position clear about me after that first debate, Roger Ailes made his position clear too.
And so Megyn Kelly is in, which I think she should be in. She's a damn good anchor. And by the way, the question that she asked Donald Trump, I still say, was a fair question, right? He's made some pretty nasty comments about women. Does he have a problem with women?
Yeah.
And he's just resented that and has tried to hold it against her ever since. The big question is, there's so many questions about this. Again, is Donald Trump, is this smart politically, or did he walk into Roger Ailes' trap. I think it's a huge mistake on Trump's part. I think it does make him look like a weenie. How can he say he's going to be a strong commander-in-chief when he's afraid of a debate question from Megyn Kelly? And there's also the possibility out there, friends, let's not forget, that you were talking about two master showmen, Donald Trump and Roger Ailes. And this could all be a stunt, and they could talk, and Donald Trump could say tomorrow, I'm persuaded now that everybody's going to be fair, even Megyn Kelly, and I will show up for the debate, in which case they will get the biggest ratings they have ever had, and they will both walk away winners.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. Okay.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
I still think he's going to show up. I really do.
He could find a way to save face, and Roger Ailes could find a way to save face. Yeah. Good. And one final word here before we take a quick break. Come back with a parting shot. And that is to remind you, my new book coming out next week, Buyer's Remorse. It is available now to our viewers and our listeners only. And it's the only way you can get a signed copy, unless you show up at one of my book signings around the country. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com. Buyer's Remorse, not an attack on President Obama. Gives him full credit for all the good things that he's done. It does point out that in many ways he has let us progressives down by not fighting for the full progressive agenda. So Buyer's Remorse, not that we're sorry we bought the car. The car just didn't perform as well as we were hoping that it would. Go to the website, BillPressShow.com. Order your copy or several copies today. Just tell us how you want them signed. And with that, I'll be back with today's parting shot.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory towards students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
You know, the White House says that President Obama has not made an endorsement in this primary race between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And I want to say to that, BS. Consider, 4 members of the president's cabinet have already endorsed Hillary. The president himself told Glenn Thrush of Politico that Bernie was a bright, shiny object, but that only Hillary was capable of governing from day one. The president also denied any comparison between himself in 2008 and Bernie in 2016, and now several former top White House aides have publicly stated that Hillary, not Bernie, is the right person to carry on the work of President Obama. If that doesn't add up to an endorsement, I don't know what does. Of course, the president's every right to take sides, and it's not surprising he would support his former Secretary of State, but it just proves Bernie's point that the whole establishment, political Democratic establishment, is against him. Hey, that's it for today, folks. Have a good one. Come back and see us tomorrow.
This
we'll be looking
is the
for you.
Bill Press Show.